body knows what it's pre-digested. I mean, there's all kinds of delivery systems today. And I've studied carbon so long, trying to understand it, because I wanted the body to have some assimilation, the ability to assimilate something and utilize something so fast, so rapid, that how about under 18 seconds, we want the body to be able to utilize something in under 18 seconds. My goal is 30 seconds. There's liposomes, there's all kinds of lipid transport systems. I mean, I love them all. Praise God. Thank you for every one of them. You're in the 120-second to 4-minute category for real cellular systemic hydrolyzation. Anything attached to carbon, well, now you're talking like 20, 30 seconds. It's a very different concept, very different conceptually. So carbon is the only chemical element that has a major field of chemistry devoted to the study of its compounds. The field of chemistry, as we know, is organic chemistry. So there's two kinds of organic, right? We think of whole foods organic. We think of things that are pesticide and chemical free. That's organic. But then what's the other kind of organic? The kind that we study, that we go to school, and I think we go to school and we study stuff. So what is that? That's organic too. Well, that's organic meaning containing carbon. So carbon is the key element in the study of organic chemistry. The study of organic chemistry is what? The study of, thank you, it is the study of carbon. Nothing, it doesn't say the study of nitrogen, it doesn't say the study of oxygen, which are all very important things, but the organic chemistry is the study of carbon and how carbon interacts in our world and how we are respirating and breathing and living. So, perhaps the most remarkable thing about organic compounds is that there are so many of them. More than 95% of the millions of known chemical compounds are carbon compounds. Carbon is important because life chemistry is all basically a study of carbon chemistry, and partly because those same properties that make carbon so suitable for life also make inorganic carbon, or carbonate, suitable for many industrial processes. The physical properties of carbon vary according to its allotropes. The two major allotropes are diamond and graphite. Everybody's heard of diamond and graphite. But they have most opposing physical properties. Diamond is transparent, has little or no color. Graphite is opaque and black. Diamond is the hardest substance known to man. Pretty expensive stuff too, right? Graphite is soft and spongy. Diamond can't conduct electricity at all. Graphite is amazing, well, pretty dang amazing, a conductor of electricity. Both allotropic elements are solid, non-gaseous. Both diamond and graphite are insoluble in water. Carbon does not melt when heated, it sublimes. It's interesting when it turns to gaseous form. Allotropes may display very different chemical and physical properties. For example, graphite and diamond are both allotropes of carbon that occur in the solid state. Graphite is soft, as we just discovered. There are three main types of allotropes of carbon: graphite, diamond, and Buckminster fullerene, buckyballs. You guys have heard of buckyballs? We were just talking about buckyballs for some reason at lunch today. I don't know why. So basically, Richard Buckminster Fuller, the architect who designed the geodesic dome, which is basically the soccer ball. He was the discovery or created that shape, so they called it after him. But anyway, different allotropes have different properties, and they have varied levels of electrical conductivity, giving each of them unique use in industrial, medical, and other fields. So, compounds of carbon are classified as organic when carbon is bound to what? What? Hydrogen. When carbon is bound to hydrogen. Well, it's on the screen. Okay, so carbon atoms are unique because they can bond together to form very long, durable chains that can have branches or rings of various sizes and often contain thousands of carbon atoms. Silicon and a few other elements can form similar chains, but they are generally shorter and much less durable. Anyway, carbon compounds are extremely rare in a sense, but there's millions of them. Carbon can form an almost infinite number of molecules of various shapes, sizes, and so forth. So the origin and the name carbon is a Latin word called carbo, which means charcoal. This may come as a surprise to you, but it's the fourth most abundant element in the entire universe, and is the second most abundant element in our bodies, the first being oxygen. As a matter of fact, organic or living substances in the world contain carbon in some form or element, which is why it is the base for the entire branch of organic chemistry. So I have dedicated my life to the study of carbon. I've dedicated my life to understanding the difference between carbon and carbonate. I don't expect you to, but I did it for a lot of reasons. How many people were here last year? Anybody? Oh, that's a lot of people. Who wasn't here last year? Okay, so I'm going to talk about in addition to what we sort of built on last year. Do you guys remember the conversation about farming and soil depletion? And okay, maybe somebody should come up here and give a quick summary. Because that's a really important thing, and I can't get into it. It seems like I say that, but I can't talk about it, kind of thing. I can say it now, but I can't talk too much because we have so much new information about organics and carbon. But I want you to understand that there is a definitive relationship between how a disastrous time period when the farmers depleted the soils then became depleted of organic complexes, right? And those complexes, unfortunately, when they get depleted, aren't easily replaced, and when they're not replaced, the foods become hollow. This started in the 1930s. And as those foods became more and more hollow, one other extra amazing other insult happened. The other insult is that they started adding herbicides and pesticides and things like this. So it's sort of a double whammy. So you guys remember that. The double whammy is important to understand because our foods became hollow, basically our bodies became void of critical nutrients that we need, that we took for granted, I guess, before the 1930s. And that's an important factor to understand, that our food supply is not the way it used to be. And the reason for that is basically soil depletion. Soil depletion is a major problem all over the world, not just in the United States. So let's skip that, what is the carbon cycle? It's an amazing thing to talk about, but let's go to what does carbon come from? Carbon is found in the sun and other stars, formed from the debris of previous, maybe we think, supernova of some sort. It is built up by nuclear fusion in bigger stars. It is present in the atmospheres of many planets, usually as carbon dioxide. Research by several universities, of which Rice is certainly up there at the top, has said that, suggests that virtually all of Earth's living carbon could have come from a collision long ago between Earth and an embryonic planet similar to Mercury. That was just extra good information for you. I'm sure you needed that. But I wanted you to have an understanding of that carbon is old. It's something that they believe happened through some kind of fusion a long time ago. Like, where did it come from? Like, why are we made up of carbon? So there's a lot of different theories about that. Marine organisms, from plants to fish, from seaweed to birds, also produce carbon through the living and dying process. The digenesis and decay of plants, from photosynthesis and the decay of living plant matter. So here's a little timeline for you. Back in the 1700s, the discovery of carbon dropped down to the 1800s. They did some amazing things with understanding more about where carbon originated from. The 1860s, you know, we had the diamond synthesis. We had in the 1950s, we had the development of carbon fiber. That's a very interesting discovery. In the mid-1950s, there was the Fullerene's discovery of carbon. In 1991, the Carbo nanotubes and the nanothesis. In 2004, graphene isolation. 2010's carbon-based nanomaterials. This goes on and on. I stuck in there in the 2000 and 2020s. Drucker Lab pioneers carbon bond technology and liquid multivitamins, utilizing advanced carbon bonding techniques to improve nutrient stability and absorption. So our process started in the early 2000s, and that's something that we've been building on ever since. The carbon cycle, it's a pretty interesting, amazing thing. We think we know it, but we probably really don't. But the carbon cycle, it's an interesting process. How plants use carbon dioxide, they give off oxygen, we breathe in oxygen, but everything comes through the Earth's atmosphere. And everything in the Earth's atmosphere is photosynthetically interchanged with light, right? So plants can live and grow, and then they can, unfortunately, then they die. But what happens when plants die? Does anybody know? Plants, what? They die and they release their remains into the soil. So the soils then become slowly enriched over time. But that's a long time. Soils become enriched over decades, centuries. It's thousands of years. So eons, there's a lot of composition has to take place for a plant that has to release its remains into the soil for the soils to become enriched. So the soils don't become enriched just by going, hey, it's time to become enriched. They become enriched over a diagenesis or decaying processes. This processes is slow, but its maturation over time is the key. You want the soils to become enriched so that the farmer can come along, plant his crop and his seed into that enriched soil so that your food's going to become enriched, so that you eat these critical nutrients that your body needs to not just stay alive, but to thrive. So the carbon cycle is an important cycle. Carbon's ability to form stable bonds with many elements. Well, I skipped the foundation of life, but we talked about that. But its ability to form stable bonds with many elements, including itself, makes it the backbone of organic chemistry and life on Earth. So if NASA were to go spend $1 billion or $1 trillion to go look at life on another planet, as we know it, what would they be looking for? Anybody? Thank you. They'd be looking potentially for what we think or what we know of as carbon. I mean, they could look for oxygen, they could look for water, but without carbon, there's no interchange to understand life. Life is the basis of organic chemistry, which is the study of carbon, not the study of nitrogen or